I work for a railroad and hold the position of assistant diesel locomotive driver. I won't go into the details of the job, but I'll just say that my position is the lowest in the train operating environment. Just wipe the diesel engine from oil, knock ice off the running gear, and sip tea in a cozy cabin. On the whole, I'm happy with everything. What to complain to a 20-year-old guy who got a job right after the internship? Only the permanent smell of diesel fuel from his clothes and sleepless nights. One of those nights is what we're going to talk about. It happened about 2 years ago in the middle of January. I had just started to work independently, threw me on a large station located in the center of a military township, actually the airfield and the station, and kept the village afloat, 50 kilometers from my city. I lived in a rented apartment. I was not particularly happy with this situation, but on the other hand, in an independent life also has its charms, although sometimes there was a longing. And so, my 5th shift was approaching. Today, I had to go to night. Sitting at my laptop, I looked at the clock. It was 4:02 p.m. I exhaled and thought to myself, here we go. I didn't get any sleep before my shift again. I'll be in a state of boiled beets again. I'll get over it. I was distracted from watching the show by a phone call. It was Andrei Palish, my driver, a cheerful, bald man in his 60s. He knew his job and the locomotive like the back of his hand. I picked up the phone. Hello, Palish. Hi, Demon. Listen, I won't be on shift today. I urgently needed to go to the city, so I took the day off. When you come to the depot, go to the supervisor. You'll be united with another driver for this shift, and then I'll come and you'll be with me again. His voice was a little different from usual. He was breathing more often than usual, occasionally swallowed saliva, and in general his voice sounded a bit scared, or something like that. Ah, got you. I'll come by. Everything okay in there? I jumped off my shift without warning. I need to leave urgently. I'm fine. My wife asked me to go see her brother. Why are you meddling in other people's business, you cunt? You're not coming out of the engine room until the diesel is shiny. Haha, okay, but don't hit me. Have a good trip. Andrei Palish hung up without answering anything. I looked at the phone with a disgruntled face and hummed, and continued watching the show. After a while, I looked at the weather forecast. -26 and super-cooled fog. Just super. I got ready and went to work. I went to the supervisor. There I was introduced to the machinist, a tall, dense guy of 26 years old. As it turned out, he had just finished his studies and got a job here. Nice to talk to, knowledgeable about memes and games. This is it, I thought. After all the hard work with briefings and other preludes, we went to our car. On the way, he brought to my attention the fact that we were working today at a Shimbaza, an industrial facility that procures crushed stone for the railroad. Well, expected. Where to send an inexperienced machinist except on a single track with cars on the ends? Just go back and forth, taking the wagons away, I thought. It's good that Palish left today. Every time we work at the base, something happens to him. He misses a vigilance check, or speeds. He's not having any luck here. I don't want to go back to the warden's office. Once we got the car on the road, we got to work. Everything was going just fine. The train was running. I was chatting with my colleague and smoking right in the cab. Palish did not allow it. Half of the shift passed like that. At 1:17 from the speaker of the radio station came the coveted Shimbaza to the technical parking lot. We don't have lunch, not officially, but we're allotted a couple of hours for locomotive inspection and maintenance. It's up to you how you use that time. We left about halfway, about 7 kilometers to the station, and the same amount to the base. It is comfortable to sleep. There is no light from searchlights and the rumble of locomotives and other machinery. Single track and dense forest on both sides. Pulling the brake, the driver sent me to inspect the running gear, and he threw his feet up on the console and began to dabble in his phone. What a lazy dick. You could have helped, I thought, and got down from the locomotive. I had a flashlight, a hammer, and gloves with me. Wading through the deep snow, I went around the car in a circle. The running gear was fine. We can go back. But the view fascinated me. A milky sea of fog, rails going nowhere, and a lonely diesel locomotive, a majestic monster, a green metal hulk, whose light was drowned in this shroud literally in 10 meters. It was breathtaking. I smoked a cigarette, and feeling that half of the thermos of tea was begging to go out, I decided to go to the bathroom. I didn't piss by the car. The driver can look in the mirror, and in general, it is not aesthetic. I went down from the embankment to the landings, lighting the way with a lantern. I didn't want to get broken in the dark. Doing my business, I noticed, near the thick of the trees, some rusty sign with patches of white paint. Having finished, I carefully moved towards it. After walking 15 meters, I took the rusty plaque off the lower branch of a tree. It still clearly read TE3 692. It was a license plate from some diesel locomotive. Troika is a rather old diesel locomotive. A find like this is a rarity for a connoisseur. Holy shit! I'll stick it on the bumper of my car or put it in my room. What a catch! I joyfully looked at the find, as suddenly on the right something crunched. I turned sharply, shining my flashlight. The light was drowning in fog, and 2 bright lights were clearly visible a couple dozen meters away. The beast is roaming about. The eyes are shining. I hope it's not a wolf. And as I spoke the words, I saw the lights slowly fade and then disappear. The animal didn't turn away and walk away. The eyes didn't recoil as if it had walked backwards. Absolutely silently, the lights disappeared. I felt uneasy. Goosebumps went from top to toe, and I turned around a couple times and lit up the space. No one. Everything was quiet. Even too quiet. Not even the rumble of a diesel engine. Either I've gone so far away, or the driver has shut it down. I must have gotten a leaky hubcap from lack of sleep. Well, we should get back. It's not May. Holding the sign under the arm of my left hand, I hurriedly walked through the moderately deep snow towards the locomotive. It's safe, warm, and bright. The beast wouldn't get in. I didn't want to think about what I had seen. The branches crunched under my feet, but suddenly I heard a different kind of crunch. It sounded like a large bone or someone's spine had broken. Pretty nasty sounding. The crunch sounded from somewhere behind me. Frozen in place, I stood motionless for about 15 seconds, digging a bunch of thoughts in my head and counting the frequent beats of my heart. My feet were getting inordinately cold. They were going numb, little by little, either from the cold or from the terror. Then I slowly turned around. The light of the lantern was fading again in the thick fog, and 10 meters away from me there were those lights again. But they were higher now than they had been that time, about the height of my eyes. Now they were moving leisurely, outlining a recumbent figure 8. And there was that crunch again. Now I realized what its source was. The creature was shaking its head and crunching its vertebrae. After 7 seconds of disgusting neck gymnastics, my eyes stopped. The cracking of bones stopped, but it was replaced by whispers. About 10 voices spoke at once, male and female, far and near. Even children's voices were heard. They all merged into a disorderly noise. It was impossible to make out what they were saying. It was as if they were getting into my head. Through the shaft of my own thoughts and the flow of whispers, I was still able to give a command to my body. Run! I turned sharply and accelerated. I ran as fast as the mud under my feet and heavy winter overalls allowed me to run. On the move, I maneuvered between trees and jumped over all kinds of holes and ravines. My legs carried me on autopilot, and I was carrying my stuff and the plaque. I'm surprised I haven't thrown it away yet. It's not her fault for all this shit, and I'm carrying her with me. I ran without feeling tired, but it started to stress me out that the landing seemed longer than it had been before. It felt like I'd run about a kilometer, and the trees still wouldn't end. After a couple more minutes of walking, I ran out into deep snow, and the strip ended. A railroad embankment showed up, and I ran up it like steps, although there was a good incline and gravel. Standing in the middle of the track, I stopped. A faint sense of calm followed. I got out. Okay, stop. Where's the diesel locomotive? I grudgingly muttered in a full voice. Looking around, I couldn't find my car. Pulling myself together, I assumed that in that landing I had gone sideways, and the locomotive was somewhere further down the track, and because of the fog, it was expectedly not visible. Well, there was nothing to do, so I went in the direction of the base. The snow crunched under my feet. I was walking fast to the only goal, to get to my iron fortress. On the way, I began to pay attention to my surroundings. The rails are rusty, the joints are wide. Stopping, I kicked the snow beneath me a couple times and saw that an old, rotten wooden sleeper lay beneath my feet. Twisting the toe of my work boot, I broke off a piece of frozen, rotten wood. It smelled characteristically of creosote, a substance used to treat wooden sleepers, a classic railroad smell. This isn't the way. Where am I?